happy with tonight. You know, as coaches, we knew what we wanted to get in and look at. You know, running the football, and just that when you just get so many limited opportunities to tackle, and you know, if you're throwing it all over or whatever, we wanted to keep the ball in play and let some guys, the defense. You know, it's hard to be a defensive player nowadays when you get really 2-3 times in training camp to tackle, and something that you got to practice. You can't master it unless you actually do it. It's the only thing in sports that you can't really practice till game day. And so we wanted to get some of that in, and then that end of the game 4-minute situation, it was good to see the one offense keep the ball. You know, we set up a scenario where if they would have had to punt, then they would have been 2-minute coming back, and we just played out the last 4 minutes, and the one offense was able to keep the ball and finish again.
You feel like what you've been able to do in this camp has gotten your guys kind of primed to be able to run the ball in the manner you'd prefer this year?
Well, I think, you know, we've got to go out there and do it in games. I think we all know, I mean, you know, the keys to winning the game. I don't think you can control the game unless you're running the football. I'm not saying that you can't win a game if you have to do it the other way, but to consistently win a championship, you got to be able to line up and run the football and be committed to doing that, and then that opens up everything. You can spread them out, you can throw it, you can play action pass, but you can't control the game and feel like you have control of it unless you can consistently line up and run the football and stay ahead of the chains, and then you got to have some chunk plays in there of just running the football. It's hard in this game. I mean, the points per possession is probably now, especially with the new rules, you're going to have maybe one less possession. I think, you know, what you do with those possessions. We've been pretty good at top in the country as far as first down production, but those things got to be touchdowns. It's hard to go 10, 12 plays, you know, drive after drive. You're moving the football, but explosive plays for touchdowns are what win you a lot of football games. And so we're still working to that. I mean, our guys, our unit understands what our goals are and what we, you know, hang our hat on, and I think they've worked that way this camp.
I'd kind of forgotten about that, but since you brought up the timing situation this year, the new timing rules, how much critical is it going to be to have those drives and be able to cash those in at the end with points and not get stopped?
Yeah, I think, you know, I think once you get into the game, I don't know if we'll be thinking about it much, but I think at the end, the analytics will show that how valuable those possessions are. And you probably are going to get one possession less a game. You know, they predict maybe 6, 7 less plays on both sides of the ball. You know, if you're looking at 15 plays in the game, that's, you know, quite a bit of time. So you've got to capitalize when you get the opportunity. You got to score touchdowns in the red zone. You've got to hit some explosive plays for touchdowns throughout the game. And so I think we'll look back on the season and have more of an idea how it affected the season, but it definitely will change the amount of snaps.
You mentioned some of the positives that you saw from maybe guys that you weren't necessarily expecting. What were, I don't know if surprise is the right word, or what were some of the bigger surprises of camp that really stood out to you that maybe at the beginning didn't know necessarily you would see over the course of the couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think our depth at offensive line, you know, we've created an you know, we're going in there and there's some discussions on who those 5 guys would be. I think the last few years it's, you know, praying that those 5 or 6 guys stay healthy, and then there's not, you know, the competition to play at the level that you have to play at in the Missouri Valley Conference. And now I feel like there's 7, 8, 9 of those guys that we would feel comfortable if we see them trotting out on the field that we can move the football. And so I think those guys have done a good job. It's a credit to Coach Clark. I think our wide receivers, I think Zach Gibson has had a really nice camp. He's played for us, but now I think the quarterbacks and the coaches feel like, you know, wherever he's at, he's gonna be able to produce. Obviously, Vincent Davis and those guys. I think on the defensive side of the ball, I think, you know, Bohannock hasn't played for us here, and we had him in the spring, but to see him just consistently show up every single day, we feel like we've got, you know, 4 to 5 linebackers. I know you guys have kind of featured Dune Smith, and when you got Bohannock, and you've got Barola, and then you obviously got Branson. And then I think Ben Bogle, we challenged him, a kid that's got a super bright future. to show that we can trust him. Not the way that he plays. When he knows what he's doing, he can play at this level. It's more of just, do the coaches trust you with the checks and the game moving fast, and he's really had a nice camp as well.
My last question to you, Coach Hill, is just the importance of this next week and trying to establish a routine now with classes starting on Monday.
Yeah, and the routine, you brought that up. I mean, that's why we do today. You know, it's 6 o'clock game. This is when we will snap a couple times this season. So we talked about that early in the day. I mean, what time, you know, we get here at 10 o'clock and we have a breakfast and then you have walkthroughs. What's your routine, you know, when you go back to your apartment and your dorm for a few hours before you have to be back here for pregame meal? What do you do? We don't let them leave the building after pregame meal, so you really got an hour and a half, 2 hours to kind of lounge around. We just talk about, show them videos, examples of, you know, the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Bradys, anybody that's been in the league for 6, 8, 10 years and played at a high level. There's a routine on game day that they don't deviate from. You know, you get your mind ready to play the football game, and so those young guys have to understand that. You know, it's a long day, and if you're wearing yourself out and just mentally drained by the game day, then you're not going to be ready to go till 10 o'clock at night. And it's probably about when we'd be wrapping it up. And so just the routine of that, and then, yeah, transition into class. Now it's, what's my Monday look like? What's my Tuesday look like? When am I eating? When am I getting my, you know, extra work in, my film? I got a big block on Tuesdays but not Wednesdays. And so the quicker that you can do that, the more you can just, you know, get into that routine and have the confidence in your week that you can perform at a high level.